I remember just going back to that moment. I said, you know what, I'm just gonna launch the collection, which is the first collection. I would say the first year was the hardest in terms of, you're doing it, it's real.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the Mo Show podcast, episode 26. My guest tonight is Arwa Al-Banawi. She launched her brand back in 2005, retailing across the Middle East. Recently moved back to Saudi, where she'll be launching her fashion studio in a few months' time, inshallah. Please welcome Arwa. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
Wallah, thanks for taking the time and coming on the show. We go back, huh? We have a friendship from like a decade ago, don't we?
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of what you've been doing the last 10 years
Thank you.
with where you've taken your brand and all that. Really, remarkable stuff, honestly.
Thank you so much.
So when did you move back to Saudi? You were in Dubai before, yeah? When did you move back here?
Literally during this year, during the pandemic.
In the middle of it all?
In the middle of it all.
Really?
Yeah.
Starting your fashion label, did it start on the ground in Dubai when you were there? How was that born, the Arwa Al-Banawi brand?
I launched my brand in Dubai. At that time, 2015, there was, I would say, the peak of fashion launching in the region. I would say 2012 even. So before I started the brand, there was Fashion Forward, a huge incubator, and they do fashion shows in the region. So a lot of designers from the region, they go to Dubai and they showcase their lines there. So Fashion Forward is one of those that started very early in the region in fashion, and I basically showcased with them my first fashion show. And then I got the opportunity to go to Paris. So I showcased my collection in Paris a year after launching my brand.
Fashion weeks?
Yes.
Really?
So we go to Paris every fashion week, twice a year, for the main collection, spring, summer, and fall, winter. And it's just, I don't know, something about launching, putting yourself out there, I would say. I launched my brand in Dubai. There was, the industry was growing. So there's editors, there's so many designers. So there's an industry there. And by launching, you're putting yourself out there. So to the public, it's not like your family and friends are going to tell you, are the only ones that are going to give you the compliments, let's say, or make you feel good about yourself. It was the real deal, it's like launching, I would say, anywhere in the world, So I launched my brand then, and I remember just going back to that moment. I said, you know what, I'm just going to, launch the collection. We call it debut collection, which is the first collection. And I would say the first year was the hardest in terms of, you're doing it, it's real, and I would, that energy in Dubai was amazing. At the time, it still is, but I still remember that moment because the whole fashion industry was shaping in the region. So yeah, I launched my brand. I used to do Paris twice a year to showcase our collections, of course. Editors, sometimes you get criticized. Major designers around the world still get criticism about their collections, and that sort of, it shapes you, I think, makes you stronger as an entrepreneur and as a creative individual.
Absolutely.
So it was a crazy fun journey so far.
Yeah. That whole East meets West dichotomy appears to be very attractive to, the fashion capital of the world, Paris. Is it as stressful as I am assuming it to be, to get yourself into an event like that? I mean, does it really take everything you have in you to get out there?
I would definitely say it's the most stressful time of my whole career. Like when we go to Paris, oh my God. I mean, every minute counts. I mean, sometimes I would shoot the collection and then decide to add more pieces, but the lookbook is out and it's already sent out to all the buyers, and the press, but you really want to take advantage of every minute, because as a creative person, you never know when, you know, you get inspired and you think of something, and then you can't just say, okay, I'll launch this piece next season. It has to be now, because it continues with the story of the collection. So it's the most stressful time. I mean, we never finish in the studio before 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And then the collection gets shipped to Paris immediately. And then I fly out there with the team. And then we basically showcase. It's so I never did a fashion show in Paris, but the showcase is more like a presentation kind of setup. And a lot of designers do that. And then the press and the buyers come, and it's really like the moment of truth.
Wow.
You know, like the buyers come, the press come, and they see your collection. Some of them like it, some of them don't. Some of them, you know, they give you advice on what to do next season. It's just part of the experience.
Yeah.
And
what a ride.
it's crazy, but it's fun.
Would that be your proudest moment, getting into Paris with your team on your debut? Looking back, is that your most fondest moment of your young career?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Especially that I'm gonna miss it now. God knows what's gonna happen after, you know, what we're going through now with, you know, post-COVID, because the fashion industry changed tremendously. Everything's going digital. So, you know, we have to wait and see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Does it help at all that the fashion business has moved online in the last decade or so? I mean, a lot of retailers, every retailer pretty much is online. I mean, you have the high street taking a hit for rent signs, closing down, brick and mortar. Does it help that, you know, there's already a strong footprint for the fashion industry online? So is it much of an adjustment now that we're going through this pandemic?
I would say yes and no, because we're used to, you know, half of the experience of having a fashion brand and, you know, launching a label is you're used to customers coming to you and being a part of that experience. So feeling the fabric, doing fittings. I mean, a very normal week for me in the studio in Dubai would be at least we have 3 fittings. So it's, you know, an experience. Like the customers come, and, you know, we do like 2-3 fittings sometimes. So now we're having to do all of that, sometimes on FaceTime, on Zoom. So it's been really challenging but fun at the same time, because, you know, you don't want to be, I would say, outdated. You know, you want to go up to that challenge and you want to perfect it. So I think the challenge here is how are we going to perfect going online with almost everything. So, you know, now we're thinking, okay, how do we help the customer on the other side, even if that customer's in London and our studio's in Dubai and Saudi? How do we help them get their measurements right?
By correspondence, definitely a challenge there. So something that I have noticed changing in our country, in Saudi Arabia. 10 years ago, all the women wore black abayas. Today, the ratio is maybe 25% black, 75% colored.
That's true.
I'm not in the fashion business, but it caught my attention. I'm seeing a change in fashion behavior.
Big time.
When you look at that, what does that tell you, and how do you interpret it? And what do you make of it?
You know, it's really, I mean, for me, being a designer, and, you know, I would definitely say Jeddah and the region is a huge inspiration to me. Being an Arab designer, it's very inspiring, because when I launched my brand, and the tagline of the brand is the suitable woman. So it's really celebrating and empowering women through fashion. And a lot of inspiration is coming from the Arab world, especially with my roots, and, you know, kind of doing that whole merging the blend of the East and West. So when I launched the brand, you know, I was introducing ways to modernize the abaya, because, you know, the world is becoming very fast-paced. So, like, I remember when I launched the brand, Instagram was still coming up, you know, and, like, think about it this way. Like, for me, we're all about thinking of that solution for this woman on the go.
Yeah.
So back in the day, there was no Uber, for example. Now you can't tell someone, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't come to work on time. There was no ride. You know, like you could give those excuses back in the day. So now the world's becoming fast. Even, you know, every year it's getting faster
And smaller.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm someone that really appreciates tradition. I'm not one of those designers that I want to modernize our traditional wear. Maybe at some level, but not, I mean, for example, the male thobe. I don't like when I see designers changing it.
Stripes over here.
Like, you know, it's tradition. I think it's beautiful that we have tradition. We are a country that has a very rich heritage, and we have traditional wear. And I think that's, you know, that's beautiful.
To the point where I showed you a picture earlier of this NBA player. I'll put the picture up on the screen right now.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, he's wearing a hoodie with a ghutra. Yeah, with a shimah fabric. Cool. I mean,
like, that's cool because you are blending your traditional fabrics and materials with, you know, streetwear.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the thobe, for example, I love, for example, playing with fabric. You know, like a bit of light blue, grays, neutral colors, but not changing the silhouette.
Yeah.
Even with the abaya, like I have done so many pieces on my collection where it's a modern abaya, like a blend of a suit and a abaya.
Okay. So are you for the colorful ones? You know, we see all the colors of the rainbow these days.
That's true. But, you know, like for me, I like to do that because of work.
Yeah.
You know, I do realize, I mean, a couple of times, you know, I know like when you're traveling, and if you're someone that's traveling, you're working, you're independent woman, you're on the run, you can't really wear, I would say, the traditional abaya on the go.
Yeah.
You would want a solution. So I feel for my brand, what I like to do is just modernize it for the sake of workwear, but not that I'm saying I want to change the abaya. No, I think our abayas are beautiful, and it's beautiful traditional garments that we should always value, and we should keep in our heritage. You know, we should really, you know, it's inspiring.
Yeah, I love it, and I hope it never dies. You know, it is a beautiful tradition.
That's true. I can remember the last time I was, you know, in one place for like, you know, a long period of time. But, you know, I'm going out and I'm seeing all of these changes, and it's amazing. You know, I don't remember it that way when I was out of Jeddah for a while, but it's amazing because you see everyone has different style, you know, and especially that, you know, I have customers when they go to Al-Ula, they want nude color abayas to fit the backdrop, you know, because Al-Ula is all,
I'm sorry, they want what color?
Like nude colors, so like beige and the
like earthy
tones, neutral tones. So, you know, to blend with the whole Al-Ula spirit and Al-Ula aesthetic.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and then when they come to Jeddah, they want the colorful abayas because, you know, they're by the beach most of the time.
Cosmopolitan, yeah.
Exactly. And in Riyadh, you know, they like very elegant, structured abayas because the Riyadh, you know, so many places are opening now, so you're mostly out all the time, and you want to look very, you know, polished and very elegant. And so it's interesting, like just within Saudi, you know, you have 3 different aesthetics in one place, and customers are getting used to that. They actually want to wear a different abaya for every place. Yeah. So
horses for courses, cool, as they say. Where would you like to take your brand in the next 5 years from now? So seems like a long way away, but time flies. By 2027, 28, where would you like your brand to be?
Well, I would definitely have a different answer if this was before the pandemic. You know, our whole strategy changed after, you know, the year 2020.
It really affected your business and the industry, huh? More than I knew.
I mean, it's not really about the business. It's not in terms of like growth of the brand. It's more on where you want to what's your plan on what do you want for the brand? Like, where do you see yourself expanding? So definitely, you know, post pandemic, I would say everything that we're thinking of 5 years down the line is 75% digital. So whatever we want to do, whether it's open a new store or launch a new, like a different experience on the online platform, everything has to be, I think, from my perspective, is to focus on digital.
Yeah.
But one thing I feel is always going to be growing is the collaborations. I love to collaborate with brands, with people, artists, and I see that definitely growing in the next years because, you never know where that collaboration could go, and you enter different fields as well. So aside from fashion, I collaborated with two musicians. One is actually a Saudi hip-hop artist, Majid, and Leila Kardan, based in Dubai. And we basically created a track for the brand together. So I commissioned them to create a track for the brand. And it just really has that whole lifestyle thing going on with the brand. And I feel that's important because, whomever that is wearing my brand, I want them to get a whole 360 experience on, where you were at, what music you listen to, where do you go, what do you read, what do you eat. It's a whole...
Touches all your senses.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so cool. What are some of your favorite brands that, besides yours? What's your second favorite brand out there? Something that's close to your heart.
I would say Adidas.
Good choice.
Yeah. Adidas is a brand that I remember growing up. I was obsessed with their campaigns because they were always touching on, being different and celebrating
diversity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, at a young age, it was a brand that really inspired me, even now. Yeah. Very inspiring brand. Yeah.
Truly. You have enough experience now to give advice to someone who's coming up. My sister-in-law started her fashion label as well. Hala Sabah, she started it. She's, I think, in the middle of producing a new line. And I see, the difficulty that she goes through. What advice do you have to a youngster, coming up, who wants to, follow your footsteps in getting her brand out there in the Middle East?
Well, I would definitely give an advice to know your story. I feel any brand out there that will touch people's lives and they will, I say, find inspiring and always find themselves going back to it, is that the story is very clear. I would say definitely define your purpose on why you're doing this. What is the story of your brand? What makes you unique, basically? And the second thing is, I think learning the skills is important. I wasn't a great student, to be honest. If it wasn't for my parents, I think I would have dropped out of college very early. But that was never an option. I had to go all the way. But definitely school teaches you discipline.
Yeah.
And you learn skills, like I would say maybe time management. There would definitely be instructors and professors that would inspire you and you'll never forget them. So if you don't go through that, you won't learn the skills. I would definitely say, even as an entrepreneur, if, I don't know, do you watch that movie Whiplash?
Wow, excellent movie.
Beautiful movie, right?
Best picture, I think it got.
So I remember that part in the movie when his music teacher asked him, he's like, so where'd you learn this? Like, is it, because he was a drummer, right? So like, is it family? Like your uncle, your dad, are they, into jazz music? Are they musicians? And he told him no. So he said, then you have to go learn from the legends. So he gave him a list of jazz musicians that he has to religiously listen to and just get inspired by. So I'm someone that really believes in that. If you're someone that got a hobby and you want to turn that passion into a business, and you got it from your family, an inheritance, like your mom, your dad, your aunt, your grandmother, then you've seen it at a very young age. Your eyes have explored, they've seen, so it's already rooted in you. If not, then I would definitely advise to learn the skill, because it would make it easier, and you have to know how things are done.
Yeah.
I'm someone that I would give that advice, because I really believe in that. I think skills you have to know what the tailors are doing, what the pattern maker is doing, so you can work with them and get the product done at the end the way you imagine it, the way you see it. So
that's profound advice. Anyone listening, entering the fashion business, you just gave them a nice shortcut to what to do and what not to do. Your father plays a very influential part of your life. I was told by your husband that he has written a book. He has given graduation speeches. He's a real professor in academia. It's just hearing those things from your husband, I got intimidated. What's the best advice? And I'm sure he's given you a lot. What's the best advice he's ever given you, besides studying finance?
I would, I'd say honestly, my dad encouraged me to challenge myself, I would say. Even when I told my father, I still have the letter. I sent him a letter. I was 16. I told him, Baba, I want to do fashion. This is my dream. And he's like, but, it's a very competitive industry. And, I want you to at least know, get your degree in business and then do what you want, because it's going to benefit you one day. But I also remember that he told me, I still remember this, when I got the job in Dubai, I was confused, because something about getting a job, going to an interview, and then they like you and you get the job and you're getting a salary that you earn, something was very tempting about that. But then I felt, but I want to do fashion. It's so confusing. But why is that so attractive? And I remember I went to my father and I asked his advice, and he told me, I believe that every person, even if you're blessed to, as a woman, to have the support of your family or your husband or, whomever, getting a job and to work under a boss that's a stranger, not a boss that's your brother or your father or your cousin, you will learn a lot, because it will shape you later when you're an entrepreneur and you are, you're opening your own company, if that ever happens. So, I'll never forget that advice, because definitely working and feeling that sense of independence and getting that salary at the end of the month, and that's mine, I've earned this.
You earned it.
Is honestly an experience I would advise everyone, to go through, even those that have an entrepreneurial spirit, and they know what they want to do from college, and I know we watched movies that are so inspiring, like The Social Network, but at the end that was also something that was so revolutionary, what he thought of was revolutionary. I mean, I think he did the right thing,
Yeah. He only changed the world.
Exactly. So there are the outliers out there, which are very inspiring, and reading their stories and watching these movies is very inspiring to know what they went through, and when they get that strike of idea and they're like, okay, I'm dropping out of university, I'm gonna go and follow my dream. But still there's that whole putting yourself out there, being an entrepreneur is amazing, but at the end, you are running a company. There are going to be employees that you're going to hire. You're going to interview people. I believe being on that side, experiencing that yourself, it will make you a better leader one day. I mean,
having your own business and dealing with, everyone under you and all of that. You're saying that will,
if you haven't worked and you haven't been through that experience of being an employee yourself, I believe that could be more challenging than
Oh
already
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that is what I would, that's an advice I will never forget.
Yeah.
My dad giving me is, to be independent,
Yeah.
know what you want and to,
But you did that. I mean, you even though you probably didn't want to at the time, you went to Dubai. You did that banking job for 6 months. You really sweated for your salary and all that, and eventually you realize it's not for you. But
yeah,
you did the uncomfortable, and that's
Yeah.
where we learn. No one's ever learned from a place of comfort.
that's so true. Yeah.
It's when we get out of our comfort zones do we excel and be better than we were. Since you're from here, and the landscape is changing. Imagine having a fashion show in Al Balad, downtown Old Jeddah, where it's Saudi models, and you'll probably be the first person to do an event like that in the Old Town part of Jeddah.
I would love that.
How amazing
That would be great.
would that be? Like coming full circle to your hometown, and first open air fashion show in the Old Town Jeddah. That would make some noise, I think.
Big time. I would love that.
That would be really cool. Make it happen. I mean, isn't it easier now than ever to do such things? With the end of COVID,
No, inshallah.
I see that getting licensed, getting
Definitely.
approved.
I mean, I hope so, because it's such a beautiful place. Al Balad has
God.
it's very charming.
And they've spent a lot of money to revamp it, by the way.
It's
I'm sure you've
beautiful.
noticed.
Yeah. We did a photo shoot there for the Saudi Dream Collection 2018, and we shot with a Saudi model. Her name is Shahad. I don't know if you know where she's from, Mecca.
Nope, I don't know.
And we did a photo shoot there in Al Balad, and I remember it was,
Oh yeah.
it was amazing, because I never thought that I would, in my career, I would do a photo shoot in Al Balad with a Saudi model and a whole Saudi team. So the photographers and videographers were all
Amazing.
Saudi.
Surreal for you, I'm sure.
صراحة it really was unforgettable. And just beautiful. I mean, the backdrop of Al Balad is just
it's picturesque, huh? It's gorgeous. That Hijazi tradition element, like when you see those windows, those roshans, you know that you're in Western Saudi Arabia.
It's beautiful how there's also, like, even in Al Ula, I mean, a fashion show in Al Ula would be
oh wow, you're just teasing us now.
Mind-blowing.
You're teasing us.
So inshallah, all of these places, because really it's just the landscape is just it's perfect.
It is, and there's a lot to celebrate. Wallah, thank you for your time today, coming on the show. I hope I didn't keep you for too long.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, wallahi, with your stories, and I'm sorry to hear about how challenging it was, but hopefully it's the end of the challenges and difficulty. But
no, I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm not complaining, because I'm sure everybody out there has their own version of working during the pandemic. But challenges are good. We learned something here and there.
Truly. Thank you for taking the time. Best of luck in the future with your new lines. Keep us abreast with what's happening.
Thank you so much.
In the world. And again, Wallah, thank you so much for coming and sharing your stories.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.